everybody, I am going to be painting this Gorm. The Gorm is the crazy zombie baby anglerfish from the Kingdom Death monster line. And let me just talk a little bit first about prepping this thing. This is not one of the better models in terms of assembly, primarily because the legs and the head have some pretty significant seams, and although I've done a lot of work here to get rid of them, there are just some things that are like just too bad to be able to spend enough time with to really get rid of them. You can see right here, this is from where these two pieces, well, I want to say where the two pieces come together, but I don't think, yeah, that is true. This is where those two pieces come together, and there's like a ridge that is formed, and I've spent a lot of time trying to get rid of it, and it's worse on this side than on this side, and so I was able to deal with it pretty well there. And the legs are sort of a kind of a find exactly the right place to fit the leg. There's no guides to kind of help you get it into place. And even if you find what appears to be that perfect spot, and that means a lot of sort of shifting the leg a little bit, and then checking to see if you screwed anything else up, and then shifting the leg a little bit more. And I'm using plastic model cement, so that gives me the time to do that. Even when you have found what it looks to be the perfect spot, it still leaves some significant gaps that I've spent a lot of time with liquid green stuff and sandpaper to get rid of. So anyway, preparation wise, this should be a simple model to put together because there's not that much to it, but it is. It can be difficult. Painting, on the other hand, is pretty cool because it's just it feels like a blank slate. There's so much surface area, and although there are some wrinkles and stuff, you really need to add the visual interest yourself. It's not like you can just work with, well, I'm going to paint it a color, I'm going to wash it and call it done. I mean, you can do that certainly, but you shouldn't pass up the opportunities that this model provides. So anyway, I've already done one of these, and I will show it to you here. And as you can see, I've really done it up as kind of a cool, gross zombie baby monster anglerfish thing. And I'm going to do a variation on that paint job here, and that's what I'm going to show you. Since I've already done it once, I kind of know some things that I did that I would like to either expand on or do a little differently. And so that's where we're going to go. But to start with, and the primary color for this model is Vallejo Game Air Dead Flesh. Okay, now that we've got the whole thing completely coated, that includes the inside of the mouth because it's just a nice light base color, even though that's not going to stay this color. I'm going to give it a nice coat of Athonian Camo Shade, and what this is going to do is provide depth to the whole thing. It's really kind of a pre-shade, and that means that we're going to be painting over this later on. This is going to define all the detail, but this won't be the final look of it. And so this is sort of a, I mean, you're washing it, but you don't want it to be real thick. Like, see this? You don't want it to stay like that. You want this to be a fairly even coat, liberally applied, but you don't want it to form severe pools. But it also doesn't need to be perfect, because again, this is sort of a pre-shade, and since we're going to be painting over this anyway, we don't have to be too careful. And there's a lot of nooks and crannies in this, so just keep an eye on your wash as you're putting it in there, because it'll hide in the nooks and crannies. And while you do want it to collect there to a certain extent, you don't want it to be super deep. All right, so I actually went back and there were some areas that I thought were just a little bit too, well, they were starting to pool up, so I took the brush and just spread them out, and then I added some more where it might have missed on the first pass, and overall kind of tried to smooth out the effect as much as I could. But as you can see, the whole idea here was to bring out the surface details, and it seems to have done that. Blah. But it's also not the cleanest thing in the world, but that's okay. So we're going to move on to the next step here, and this is one of the things I did on the first one that I did, but I'm actually going to try and expand it a little bit more. So I'm using something a little different. This is Liquitex ink, and this is just the Naphthol Crimson. It's a very, very vibrant red. But the reason I'm using the ink is because I'm going to be painting veins with a very fine brush, and I find that I can get a nice tight line with the ink a lot easier than I can do with the paint. And as I said, this is a super vibrant color, and so it really pops over the green. It doesn't get lost. And it's going to be important for it to be able to be seen, because again, this is all sort of pre-coloring. There's going to be another pass with the airbrush later on, And so that's going to desaturate everything that we do now. So it's okay if you look at this and go, well, that seems like really kind of harsh. It's like, that's okay, because it's going to get more subdued down the road. So when I'm doing these, you want to make sure you get a lot of kind of branching. Take a look at some vein pictures if you want, you know, or just think of a tree where it starts fairly thick and then thins as you go farther out and branches off. So I'm going to continue this around. I'm going to do it around the eyes, and I don't know, consider where else to do it. And then I'll come back. Okay, what it ended up doing is just moving the veins down the back, and then some around the eyes. And what I'm going to do now is do an overcoat of the dead flesh, but I've mixed it 50-50 with airbrush medium in order to provide a more transparent coat. It'll just go on thinner, and that way I can better control the layer as it goes on. And the more I put on, the less contrast there's going to be between the original color and the wash, as well as the red. And it kind of gets pushed farther and farther back into the background. And everything will kind of look more like the veins should end up looking more kind of below the surface, as opposed to just sitting right on like brush lines. What I really like is how the really ugly wash on there ends up giving the flesh tone it'll look like it's really just starting to rot under the surface. But we're going to give it some more color after this. So why don't I finish this up and then we'll come back and move on to the next step. Okay, I have now mixed up a thin batch of Watercolors Violet Transparent. And this is going to be kind of my bruise color. And I've also thinned it with some airbrush medium to make it even more transparent, because I want this to go down very lightly. I don't want this to be a heavy color at all. This is really just creating a sort of localized filter to add, like I said, kind of bruising look. All right, I think that looks pretty good for that color. The whole idea here is twofold. It is to sort of add that kind of bruising look to it. But this is also just a shadow color. So you kind of want to focus on shadow areas, but I was really heavy on the underside for two reasons. One is because, if you're thinking of this as actual bruising and as this being sort of a zombie, the blood would end up pooling on the bottom there, creating a giant bruise. But also because this is the most shadowed area of the figure. But the purple really goes well with that creepy green and creates a kind of really nasty, yucky zombie-like effect. All right, on to the next step. Okay, I've been working on some little details. The nails are an ivory with the same purple that I airbrushed into the bruised areas, but done as a wash. And then, you know, some other areas of the flesh that I wanted to pick up and provide more deeper contrast, I use that same purple with. The mouth is this beta version of Watercolor's Purple Base, which is one of their opaque colors, which I used because I needed a kind of pinkish tone to begin with, but also because this covers super well. This could easily be any pink that you want to use, because I'm just going to be washing over it real quick with Carroburg Crimson. Now with this one, with this wash, I don't mind it getting a little heavy in the recesses, because I don't mind if it's going to really pull out the details at the throat area. Nobody giggle. Because this shade is really being used to bring out all of the detail in the mouth, quote unquote. All right, so I'm gonna let that dry. In the meantime, I'm gonna go and do some blocking out of the eyes and the little ball there. On the one I did originally, I did blue on the eyes and green on the little light. But I think I'm going to do both of them blue and just make them match. So yeah, I'm going to do that. I'll be back when those are blocked in. I think I'm going to start with another one of my test Watercolors colors, because again, they cover super well. I'll be back. All right. So I've got the blue on the eyes and the little light ball. And in here, I have some Watercolors Blue 1, this is their lightest blue. And I mix it up with some airbrush medium. And now we're going to go to work on these things. Very scary. So at this point, I am pretty much done. I went in and did some highlighting, as you can see in the mouth. I painted the teeth. And these are all things that you would end up just doing however you like. You know, how do you like to paint teeth? These are primarily just bone white and Agrax Earthshade in various amounts. The highlighting is a mix of the original base color that I used in the mouth and pale flesh. I did one more pass on the eyes and the ball with white just to give it a little bit more pop so that it really looks kind of luminescent. And, you know, went back and just did some highlighting like along the spine and on some of the, you know, top of the lips, and that's using the original dead flesh. And so, you know, like at this point, it's just do whatever you would normally do to kind of bring your work to completion. But there we go, and it's done. That is going to do it for now. I want to thank you all for watching, as usual, and if you liked the video, please like the video. That means pushing the little like button. And if you want to make sure you see more of my videos in the future, you're going to want to subscribe, I would think. And of course, if you haven't already, you can also help out by subscribing via Patreon. You know, you can kind of kick forward as much as you like, and you get ad-free videos, and every now and then I do something special for Patreon folks. Not very often, sometimes. And if you just want to do a one-time, you know, helping out, if you liked this video but you're like, oh, I looked at the rest of your videos and I'm not going to watch, but you want to help out, and you know, as a one-time thing, then there's a link somewhere on this video nearby as we're speaking that you can click to give a donation of any amount you like. It all helps. So that's going to do it for now. We will talk to you all later. Bye.